Your brain is starving. Right now, even if your blood sugar is high, even if you've just eaten a full meal, your neurons are dying of hunger. For decades, we were told that Alzheimer's was an enigma, a cruel stroke of bad luck, or the inevitable decay of old age. We were told there was no way to see it coming, and no way to stop it. We were wrong. It's not a mystery. It's a metabolic breakdown. It is a biological short circuit that happens long before you ever forget a face or lose your keys. Today, some researchers now refer to it as type 3 diabetes. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you the exact mechanism behind this brain starvation. I'm going to reveal why your brain can no longer hear the signals it needs to survive, and I will share the 3 metabolic interventions you can start today to flip the switch back to on. Stay until the end, because the 3rd intervention, the one involving a specific timing of your nutrients, is the most powerful tool we have to protect your synapses from erosion. This isn't just a theory. This is a shift in the global scientific landscape. Researchers at Brown University were among the first to document this shocking reality. The brains of Alzheimer's patients are in a state of profound insulin resistance. They discovered that even in people who didn't have traditional diabetes, the brain itself was struggling to process insulin. Let that sink in for a moment. You can have a perfect fasting glucose reading, while your brain is secretly suffering from a localized form of diabetes. When this happens, your brain cells lose the ability to take in glucose, their primary fuel. And when a neuron can't get energy, it doesn't just get tired. It stops communicating. It shrinks. And eventually, it dies. This is the secret of Alzheimer's. It is a metabolic crisis disguised as a memory problem. To understand how to stop this, you must understand the gatekeeper. In your body, insulin is a key that opens a cell door so sugar can enter and become energy. For a long time, scientists thought the brain didn't need insulin to use sugar. We were taught the brain just soaked it up automatically. But the data from Harvard and Brown proved otherwise. Insulin is the master regulator of brain health. It doesn't just manage sugar. It manages memory, learning, and the very repair of your neurons. Think of your brain like a high-performance engine. Insulin is a fuel injection system. In a healthy brain, the system is precise. Every neuron gets exactly what it needs to fire and wire together. But in type 3 diabetes, the fuel injectors get clogged. The signal becomes deaf. You eat, your blood sugar rises, your pancreas pumps out insulin, but the gate to your brain stays shut. The energy is right there, floating in your bloodstream, but your neurons are locked behind a door they can no longer open. This is what we call central insulin resistance. And here's the part almost no one explains. While your neurons are starving for energy, that trapped sugar and insulin in your brain start to create a toxic sludge. This is where the infamous plaques, the Amyloid Beta, actually come from. They aren't the cause of the fire. They're the soot left behind because the metabolic fire is burning dirty. This doesn't happen overnight. It is a silent 20-year countdown. Most people wait for the big symptoms to take action. They wait for the moment they get lost driving home or forget a loved one's name. But by then, the metabolic fire has been raging for 2 decades. Science shows us that the brain's metabolism starts to shift toward type 3 diabetes in your 40s and 50s. It starts with brain fog. It starts with that mid-afternoon slump where you feel like you need a nap or a hit of caffeine just to think straight. It starts with losing your train of thought in the middle of a sentence. These aren't senior moments. These are metabolic distress signals. Your brain is crying out for energy that it can't access. If you ignore these signals, the brain enters a state of chronic inflammation. It begins to prune away its own connections to save energy. It's like a city undergoing a blackout. It starts by turning off the streetlights, then the non-essential buildings, until finally the hospitals and emergency services go dark. This is the progression of Alzheimer's. And the tragedy is that conventional medicine often focuses on cleaning up the blackout instead of fixing the power plant. Before we move into the next section, where I will reveal the exact biological short circuit caused by your nighttime habits, let me ask you, are you feeling the fog? Do you feel that your mental sharpness isn't what it used to be, even though your doctor says your labs are normal? If so, you are at a crossroads. You cannot wait for the system to fail completely. In the description and the first pinned comment, I've placed a link to our Metabolic Brain Protocol. This is a deep dive into the specific foods and timings that help bypass this insulin lock and provide your brain with the alternative fuel it's starving for. Don't click it yet. Finish this video first so you understand the why, but know that the solution exists and it starts with your metabolism, not a pill bottle. Now, you might be wondering, if my brain is starving for sugar, shouldn't I just eat more sugar? The answer is a resounding no. In fact, doing that is like trying to fix a flooded engine by pouring more gasoline over it. The problem isn't a lack of fuel in the body. It's the inability to get the fuel into the cells. And there is one specific time of day when this clogging of the system happens with the most intensity. It's a time we discussed in our last video regarding the liver, but when it comes to the brain, the stakes are even higher. Next, I'm going to show you the toxic night cycle, how a specific surge of insulin while you sleep acts as a chemical eraser for your memories, and how the glymphatic system, your brain's internal dishwasher, gets paralyzed by your metabolic state. If you think you're safe because you sleep 8 hours, you're in for a shock. Because it's not about the quantity of sleep, it's about the metabolic quiet required for your brain to clean itself. While you sleep, your brain is supposed to be doing the dishes. Science has recently discovered a remarkable waste clearance system called the Glymphatic System. Think of it as a specialized plumbing network that opens up only when you are in deep, non-REM sleep. During this time, your brain cells actually shrink in size by up to 60%, creating space for cerebrospinal fluid to rush in and wash away the metabolic debris of the day. One of the primary targets of this nightly wash is amyloid beta, the very protein that clumps together to form the plaques associated with Alzheimer's. In a healthy metabolism, the cleaning crew arrives at midnight, scrubs the synapses, and by morning, your brain is refreshed, clear, and ready to record new memories. But here's the type 3 diabetes trap. The cleaning crew cannot work in the presence of high insulin. This is a biological rule that almost no one is talking about. Insulin is an anabolic hormone. It's a signal for growth and activity. The glymphatic system is a maintenance signal. They are chemically incompatible. If your insulin levels are elevated while you sleep, due to a late-night snack, a high-carb dinner, or the liver leak we discussed previously, the cleaning crew never gets a signal to start. You might be unconscious for 8 hours, but your brain is still dirty. The toxic proteins aren't washed away. They stay, they fester, and night after night, they begin to harden into the plaques that eventually choke your neurons to death. You aren't just losing sleep. You are losing the ability to clean your own mind. To understand why this happens, we need to look at a specific enzyme that scientists are calling the double agent of Alzheimer's. It's called insulin degrading enzyme, or IDE. IDE has two main jobs in your body. Job number 1, break down insulin after it has done its work. Job number 2, break down those toxic amyloid beta plaques in the brain. But here's the catch. IDE has a massive preference for insulin. If there's insulin circulating in your system, IDE will ignore the toxic plaques in your brain every single time to go deal with the insulin first. It's like a firefighter who sees a massive forest fire but gets distracted by a small kitchen fire and spends all his time there instead. When you have type 3 diabetes or even just simple insulin resistance, your insulin levels stay high for hours, even during the night. This means your double agent enzyme is constantly busy chasing insulin. leaving the toxic waste in your brain completely untouched. This is the secret that connects your metabolic health to your memory. High insulin doesn't just cause weight gain or body diabetes. It creates a competitive inhibition in the brain. It hijacks the very enzymes meant to protect you from dementia. This is why researchers at Washington University School of Medicine found that even a single night of disrupted metabolic quiet leads to an immediate spike in amyloid beta levels in the spinal fluid. The damage isn't coming in the future. It's happening tonight. Now, let's go deeper into the short circuit. When your neurons are starving for energy because they can't hear the insulin signal, they turn to their internal power plants, the mitochondria. But in a state of chronic high sugar and high insulin, these power plants begin to misfire. They start producing reactive oxygen species, biological sparks that damage the cell from the inside out. This is oxidative stress. Imagine your brain cells are like delicate circuit boards, and because the power supply is fluctuating and dirty, sparks are constantly flying, melting the connections. This is why brain fog feels the way it does. It's not just a lack of focus. It's a physical reduction in the speed of your neural transmission. Your brain is trying to run a high-definition software on hardware that is literally melting. And here is where the type 3 label becomes so critical. In type 2 diabetes, we see this damage in the feet, the kidneys, and the eyes. In type 3, this exact same melting happens in the hippocampus, the brain save button. This is why the first thing to go in Alzheimer's isn't your old memories of childhood. It's your ability to form new ones. The save button has short-circuited because it ran out of clean energy. But the erosion doesn't stop at the power plant. It attacks the wire itself. Every nerve in your brain is wrapped in a protective coating called myelin. Think of it as the rubber insulation on an electrical wire. Myelin is made of fats and proteins, and its production is heavily dependent on, you guessed it, metabolic signals and insulin. When you are in a state of brain insulin resistance, your body's ability to repair this insulation is compromised. The rubber starts to crack. The electrical signals leak out. This is called demyelination. When this happens in the brain, your processing speed drops. You start to struggle with word finding. You know the word is there. It's on the tip of your tongue. But the signal can't get through the leaky wire fast enough to reach your mouth. Most people dismiss this as just getting older, but scientists at the Mayo Clinic have shown that this white matter hyperintensity is directly correlated with your A1C levels and your fasting insulin. You aren't getting old. Your wiring is losing its insulation because your metabolism is failing to maintain it. At this point, the picture looks grim. A starving brain, a paralyzed cleaning crew, distracted enzymes and melting wires. But this is where the hope lies, because the brain is the most adaptable organ in the human body. There's a backdoor to the system. There's a way to provide the brain with a super fuel that doesn't require the insulin key to enter the cell, a fuel that can bypass the short circuit, wake up the mitochondria, and provide the energy needed for the glymphatic system to finally start the cleaning process. Now, I'm going to reveal the 3 metabolic interventions that act as this super fuel. We're going to talk about ketone esters versus endogenous ketosis, the magnesium L-Threonate connection that crosses the blood-brain barrier, and the exact nutrient timing that forces your double-agent enzyme to stop chasing insulin and start cleaning your plaques. If you've been feeling like you're losing the battle for your mind, pay very close attention to what comes next. Because we aren't just going to stop the erosion. We are going to learn how to rebuild. Now, we reach the most critical part of this journey. How do we feed a starving brain when the front door, the insulin gate, is rusted shut? The answer lies in the biological backdoor. While your brain may be resistant to insulin and unable to process glucose, it remains highly sensitive to an alternative fuel source, ketones. Ketones are molecules produced by your liver when you burn fat for energy. Unlike glucose, ketones do not require the insulin key to enter your neurons. They use a different transport system entirely. Think of it like a city where the main highways are completely gridlocked. Ketones are the subway system. They move underground, bypass the traffic, and deliver energy directly to the heart of the city. When you provide your brain with ketones, something miraculous happens. The starving neurons wake up. Studies published in the journal Nutrients have shown that even a mild state of ketosis can improve cognitive performance in people with early-stage Alzheimer's in as little as 6 weeks. You are effectively repowering the engine using a different grade of fuel. The first intervention to rescue your brain is what I call the IDE reset. Remember the double agent enzyme from earlier? The one that chooses to chase insulin instead of cleaning up toxic plaques? To save your brain, we must force this enzyme to change its priorities. The only way to do this is to create a low insulin window of at least 14 to 16 hours every single day. This is more than just intermittent fasting. This is a strategic metabolic strike. By stopping your food intake at 7 p.m. and not eating again until 9 o'clock or 10 a.m. the next day, you allow your insulin levels to drop to their absolute baseline. Once the insulin is gone, the IDE enzyme has nothing left to chase. It finally looks around, sees the toxic amyloid beta plaques cluttering your synapses, and says, "Finally, I can get to work." This is the only time your brain truly cleans itself. If you eat a healthy whole grain snack at 10 p.m., you have just sentenced your brain to another night of toxic accumulation. You have called the double agent back to the kitchen fire and let the forest fire burn. Intervention number 1, protect the nightly quiet. The second intervention involves a mineral we mentioned before, but with a specific type 3 twist. Standard magnesium, like magnesium oxide or citrate, is great for your muscles and your digestion, but it has a very hard time crossing the blood-brain barrier. It's like a delivery truck that can't find the entrance to the city. To fix type 3 diabetes, you need a specific form called magnesium L-Threonate. Research from MIT has shown that this specific form of magnesium is uniquely capable of crossing into brain and increasing synaptic density. It doesn't just help the insulin receptors, it helps rebuild the literal connections between your neurons. It's like adding new lanes to the highway while simultaneously clearing the rust from the gates. When you combine magnesium L-Threonate with a diet rich in healthy fats like avocado, wild-caught salmon, and extra virgin olive oil, you are providing your brain with the raw materials to repair the myelin erosion we discussed. You are re-insulating your wiring. The third and most powerful intervention is the 15-minute glucose siphon. This is where almost everyone gets it wrong. They think that to protect their brain, they need mental exercise, crossword puzzles, or Sudoku. While those are fine, the best brain exercise you can do happens in your legs. As we established, your muscles can soak up glucose without needing insulin through the GLUT4 pathway. By taking a brisk 15-minute walk immediately after your last meal of the day, you are siphoning the sugar out of your blood before it has a chance to trigger a massive insulin spike. By the time you lay your head on the pillow, your blood is clear, your insulin is low, and your double-agent enzyme is ready to clean. You are setting the stage for a perfect glymphatic wash. This simple habit, walking for 15 minutes after dinner, is arguably the most effective anti-Alzheimer's drug ever discovered. It is free, it is biological, and it works with the precision of a Swiss watch. The type 3 diabetes label isn't a death sentence. It is a wake-up call. For the first time in history, we understand that we have a choice. You are not a passive victim of your genetics. Your brain health is a direct reflection of your metabolic health. Every time you choose to honor the nightly quiet, every time you siphon sugar with a walk, and every time you feed your brain with Backdoor Fuel, you are voting for a future clarity and connection. The alternative is the silent erosion we spent this video discussing, the short circuit. the melting wires, the blackout, you now have the map to avoid that destination. If this video has finally made a connection click for you, if you now see why your brain health starts in your liver and your pancreas, then I want to hear from you. Comment brain below. I read every single comment, and seeing that word tells me that you are committed to taking back control of your cognitive destiny. It tells me that you aren't going to let the silent erosion win. I have left a link to the Metabolic Brain Protocol in the description and the first pinned comment. It contains the exact food list, the nutrient timing schedules, and the specific magnesium dosages we discussed today. Don't wait for brain fog to become brain failure. Start today. If this information opened your eyes, share this video. There are millions of people waking up frustrated, forgetting things, and living in fear because they don't understand the type 3 diabetes connection. You might be the person who gives them their life back. Hit the like button, subscribe to the Metabolic Health Guide, and remember, your biology has a solution. You just need the map. I'll see you in the next video.